This has been one of those videos I've been totally excited to make. It is one of the least expensive welders that you can buy on Amazon. It's the Best Arc MIG 145. It says it does MIG, it says it does TIG. Let's go ahead and first open up the box and see what's inside, and then let's put all of those claims to the test. Let's get to it. This is what we found in the box. Here's the welding unit and it's plugged in right now. You can see everything looks like it's working. The lead for the MIG gun is about 6 feet and about 2 meters. And you can see that, and you know, it looks a little bit, you know, a little bit less thick, if you will, than what you would find maybe on a Miller or my Harbor Freight, but we'll see how it works. Here's the ground lead, and you can kind of see what side it goes into, whether you're doing flux on the positive or negative for gas wire welding. Well, that's interesting because this one does not have the provisions for gas welding. What we have is this MIG 45 7th generation, and you come down over here, there's no provisions over here for gas MIG welding like you would have if you had the 9th generation one. So we will be doing all flux core welding, and I'll tell you I'm a terrible MIG welder, and I'm probably gonna be even worse with flux core, but we're gonna see how well we can do with that. You know, the way they rate these things is a little bit different than we do. They say size 1 millimeter. I put the calipers to it, and it's about 40,000, so it's a 40. So we'll make sure we got all this as we put the wire in here. You can kind of see how this thing opens up real quick. Where the wire is going to go is inside here, and it will only take one of the small spools. But you know, this isn't for huge jobs. You're not going to be putting a 10-pound wire spool in there. You're going to be putting something smaller, I think maybe 10 or 15 that goes inside my Miller and my Harbor Freight. Besides that, the instructions I would say are marginal. They kind of show you what to do, and then they also give you at the very back, they do give you a chart. We're going to be doing some MIG welding, 11 gauge, so about the 1/8 inch steel, and I'm kind of interpolating here. We're basically, the maximum of this thing is 135, so we're just going to go wide open and see what she'll do. With that, let's put on some safety gear. Let's get a couple pieces of scrap metal, and let's see what this thing will do welding with flux core. Let's take a look and see how it did. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of impressed. I'm pretty impressed here. These are the first welds I did as I was trying to dial them in. And I actually think I was running it a little bit too hot, so I turned it down a little bit for the 1/8 inch as I kind of got over here. It's a little bit different, I think, than welding with gas, just because it's a little more sloppy and you get a lot more splatter. Even after hitting with the wire wheel, some of that stuff stayed on there. And it might just be a fact that I'm just not good at MIG welding, especially with flux core, but that's what the welds look like when I did them. I did a vertical weld you saw, and I thought that came out pretty good. I like the way that came out. It seemed like it sat in there really nicely, and I would take that weld all day long. I thought it looked real nice, almost easier to go with the vertical weld when I did that one. And then I switched over to 3/16 inch plate steel. Really like that weld. I'll tell you what, I'd put that on just about anything. I could see this thing now having a place in our chase trucks because just the compact size, the fact that we don't have to take a bottle with us when we're out there, and it'll work off of any one of our generators. It's a really impressive little unit. And you know what? It did the job here just by going slow with a 3/16 plate, and I think that that would hold up with just about any kind of field repair you're going to make out there. Let's go ahead. You know what? It came with this stick welding connection here. I'm going to see if I can rig this up and make it work in the TIG welding mode and see how this thing does as a TIG welder. All right, let's take a look at what we've done now. So we're going to try to do a little bit of TIG welding. I got my CK TIG welding torch I've hooked up. Let me show you how I've done that. A piece of metal, I'm going to do a T-joint. That's what I find myself doing these all the time. That's the kind of weld I'm going to try to do here first with the TIG welding. Got a little bit of a stick consumable there. Followed the instructions as far as the connection goes. I'm pulling the argon off the argon that I usually use with my Miller welder over here. And here comes the janky part, is I don't have the connection to make my TIG welding torch go into here and then also pull gas, because I will have to basically turn the gas on and off right here at the torch. So what I had to do is take the stick welding connection, which is connected in over here, and I basically connected the stick welder to that thing, making sure it doesn't touch any of this stuff down here. This is probably the safest way to do this, but that's the way we're doing it. And we're going to send the power down through here. So now all I got to do is go over to the welder, and I'm going to go ahead and select TIG. We're welding 1/8 inch plate steel 0.125. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with 125 amps. Let's go ahead and see how well this thing, I've never done like the whole lifting arc. I always got a pedal, so it's going to be weird doing a little bit of TIG welding without a pedal. Let's see how it does. All right, I would not have believed it. I'll tell you what, I think it looks pretty good. I really like that weld there. Let me see if I can get it to focus in. This part over here, this right here, is at the 125 amps, and then I dialed it up to 135 over here. And you know what? I think it looks kind of like a stack of dimes. It's a pretty clean weld. I'd put that weld on just about anything. Now, being able to weld like a tube chassis or something like that, that might be a little bit more than, maybe you could, but it would be difficult because you don't have the pedal. You really can't adjust it while you're welding. But you know, stuff like this, you're going to do a great job welding all day long. What was really kind of neat and I liked is it had the lift arc technology, which basically means that what I did is I would take the torch, I'd put it down to the metal, and then nothing would happen. But as soon as I lifted it, it fired the arc off, and it did a really nice job of welding, and then I think I did it right. I just kind of snapped it off to get the weld to stop. I think some of the things you got to be kind of cautious of are when you're doing welding like that, this thing is always live. So if you touch it to anything, it's going to fire off and start cooking stuff. Just like this part over here is always live also when that thing is on. So that's probably a hazard. You could, permanently find the right size torch for that or whatever to make that work. But I'm going to call this a total win for this thing. The cheapest welder at Amazon just did some TIG welding, and it was easy to do. I really like the results of that. All right, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't expecting to say wow, but wow, the Best Arc did amazing. It completely exceeded my expectations in all the areas they said it was gonna do, being able to MIG weld, and especially being able to put down a TIG weld, which I thought, looks pretty good. Is it gonna replace my Miller Dynasty? Absolutely not. This one goes about 135 amps. The Miller will go to about 200. I got a foot pedal. I can really control the welds as I'm making roll cages and stuff like that. But just the ability to do this in the field is, kind of a game changer in such a small package, and especially the ability to lay down MIG welds like this on 3/16 inch plate steel while we're out there without the requirement for a gas bottle or a huge generator and those kinds of things. This thing just does it all, and I'm really impressed by it. And I can see us using these in all of our chase trucks that we take out to the Baja 1000, to the Min 400, and those kinds of things. So with that, I'd like to thank Best Arc for sending this to us and letting us test it. And if you like this video, I bet you'll also like this video right here. Can't wait to see you next week at the same time. Take care of yourself.